about what has happened, what has transpired here for you from your perspective. Take us back to Sunday night. Were you working at the time, and what ended up happening?
This isn't live, is it?
No.
Okay.
This is just Facebook Live. This is taped on camera.
You don't need my name first?
We got that.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm so used to what I've been doing.
No, you're good.
So take you back. Well, I just left work at 8:30 p.m. at home, in bed with my granddogs. My daughter works at the same hospital that I do. And I received a phone call from my staff and that said, Tony, there's a mass casualty, we need you. And I said, I'll be right in, I'll get more staff. We have such a strong staff that when they call me and tell me they need me, I don't question. I knew I had to come in. So I made a couple of phone calls, had 3 nurses on their way in. I actually live a half an hour from the hospital. I drove 110. I went through every stoplight safely because I knew I needed to be there for my team. I just had to be there. And I didn't know what that would look like. It was very eerie driving. Streets were closed. I couldn't get to work how I normally do. All I could hear were sirens in the background, and I am like, what am I walking into? We are the only level 1 trauma center and burn center in Nevada. We're one of 4 freestanding trauma units in the United States, only one west of Mississippi. What that means is our trauma building is just trauma. We're not an emergency room. We have all trauma, and we also have a wonderful emergency room. So the minute I arrived, my car was smoking, and that is no joke. My car was smoking. I didn't care. I walked out front, and my daughter's out front helping triage.
She's a nurse as well.
She's a nurse. I'm in one of the clinical supervisors along with Brad Skilling in the trauma resus department, and my daughter is a nurse in the trauma intensive care unit, which is directly next to us. So I walked in and all I saw were bodies. Normally we're an 11 bay unit, which means when we say bays, that means stretchers, 11 stretchers. Of course, our capacity is whatever we can make it on situations like this. Now, being a trauma center, we have traumas all the time. But I walked in and people were lined up on chairs, sitting on the floor, bleeding from their extremities, their arms. They had tourniquets, dog chains, whatever somebody could find wrapped around their extremities. I had people outside all the hallway, and so I knew I needed to get a hold of this because we couldn't continue. There was no space for anyone, and on top of that, we had hundreds of people from all different departments in our department willing to help out. So together with Dr. Fields, our trauma surgeon, we went around and decided which patients were black tags. Black tags mean that their injuries were not survivable. We needed to provide comfort measures for them. We needed to isolate them. We needed to isolate the people that were the walking wounded, and then we needed to make sure that the trauma center, all the trauma teams could effectively care for the patients that needed the critical care treatment at that time. So what I did is, my past experience in the hospital, in other hospitals, I worked in the operating room, and I knew we had these huge areas. So we opened up the pre-anesthesia care unit for the walking wounded, had a physician, PA, multiple nurses there. We had another nurse in an area where they were taking care of the ones that we were providing comfort measures, so we could move the patients out of our area so we could get more patients, because at this time we had no idea. We originally were told 20, then 40, the numbers just kept coming. So that was my main focus, is trying to utilize the resources that we had, figure out the resources we had, have a plan, and execute it.
And at this point, you still don't know where the gunshots came from. You really don't know how this happened. You don't know if there's still a gunman out on the loose. None of that mattered to you at the moment.
You don't think about that. You know, we train a couple times a year as a city for mass casualties. We also do internal training. And also, being that we're a trauma center, I've been there where within 5 minutes we've had nine gunshot wounds come in. So we have trauma on a daily basis. This was just at such higher magnitude. At one point, there was rumors that there was a shooter in our hospital. There might have been somebody. And then I went into mom mode. I wanted our staff safe. How do we protect our staff? But at the meantime, your focus is taking care of the patients. No other thoughts are in your mind. Just taking care of each and every patient that walks through that door.
You started the work that you were doing, and it wasn't long before you yourself started recognizing some of the folks, that the faces. I mean, this is a small, big town, isn't it?
It really is. I never thought that Vegas was, but it truly is. And my hometown is Dearborn, 43 years. I worked at Henry Ford for 20 years. Never thought I would leave such a wonderful institution. But every person that has touched my life, whether they taught me how to put a blood pressure cuff on, whether they taught me how to do something, whether I worked aside a surgeon or a resident, it didn't matter. They've all have touched my life to prepare me for who I am to work in this capacity. And so now I am proud to say that Las Vegas is my home. The outpouring drops me to my knees. I couldn't even begin to say what has been given and brought to Las Vegas, because I would be fearful of leaving someone out, and that would break my heart, because there's not one person, one entity that has not been there in some sort of support.
It's been awfully hard for the ME's office to try to identify people because of the fact that this was 22,000 people from all over the country who are here. This is a difficult job that lies ahead for this city and for folks like yourself and folks at the Clark County ME's office.
It does. It's very difficult to be in our positions when family members are looking for someone and we can't identify them, because right now our focus right away was taking care of the patients. There were over 100 victims from this incident that were listed as does, from my understanding, in this city. People just scrambled. From the brief videos that I've watched, I've tried not to watch any of it because my world has been like 4 blocks, and trying to focus on that, but it's gut-wrenching. I couldn't even imagine not knowing where my loved one was. I go crazy if I can't get a hold of my daughter or my son. I expect them to respond. Parents were doing it for hours, and there are actually still some people that I think are unidentified. So the work is ongoing.
How do you're a leader in your department, your exact position again?
I'm one of the clinical nurse supervisors of the trauma resuscitation area.
As a supervisor in that department, you have to stay strong yourself for the work that lies ahead. How are you able to do that? Where is your strength coming from?
Sometimes I don't know. I just do what I do because I have a passion. My work is my passion. I'm a tool for the Lord. I'm just one of His tools. I've been given a gift. I don't take it for granted. Everyone that's been a part of it has been a gift to me. I've been thinking about this because I still feel like I'm living a nightmare and I haven't come off of it yet, and I don't know when I will. I'm a mom first, and my daughter is a nurse in the trauma intensive care unit. She was actually present that night taking victims out of cars, and we can't even talk about it because it's just too raw. So I worry about her mental health. I also have all my staff that I worry about. I also worry about people have come up to me upset that we didn't have them come in. So I have those emotions going on, and trying to make it clear that whether you were present here taking care of people or not, you are still part of the team. Whether you're the person that's maintaining our machines, they were working. Whether you were there or not as a nurse, you're there tomorrow for the ongoing care. So those emotions are raw. And then there's this crazy part of me that has this little bank up here that is thinking, I need to remember the things that we did well and the things that we need to work on, so when this happens again, this information can be shared, because our team the most horrific night of my life. It was the proudest moment I've ever been to be part of a team, because it worked so well. At one point, our team had the beds, patients out of our critical care area. They just transferred everyone where they needed to be, so we were waiting for an influx of more patients. We had nurses waiting on the gurneys to take care of critically ill. That's how well they did. I'm like a proud mom. I just can't wrap my head around it.
More than 500 people ended up being hurt in this terrible, terrible massacre that happened. When you sit back and you know that each one of those people who is coming by, they have a story about how they got here, how they got to your hospital. When you're doing the work that you're doing, I know that part of you has to remove yourself from that, but is there another part that does tune into that?
Not at the time. Not at the time. You can't. You just take care of what you need to take care of. You know, for an example, if you're a nurse that has just lost a loved one from a motor vehicle collision, and then all of a sudden we get in this horrific motor vehicle collision, you don't think about, maybe in your forethought, but your number one priority is taking care of that patient, and you just go in to the mode of taking care of that patient, the adrenaline, nothing else matters. And you know, when you have a team that you can rely on, everyone is there to pick each other up. Those emotions don't come into play. The days to come are when the emotions get harder. But I have to keep perspective that we save lives. We are the light at the end of the tunnel. It's a very dark tunnel, and we are just one of the bright lights that we're shining. There are so many bright lights. This city, every hospital cared for these wounded. All the facilities, the hotels that are offering, people to stay, the cab drivers. We had a person yesterday with a sign that said, "I am here for anybody. I'm a local guy here for transportation for anyone that needs it." Those are what makes you so proud to be a part of it. So I haven't had time to process any of this. Coming here today, I really had to put blinders on. My world has been 4 blocks where I work and at home. I'm not yet ready to see all this because, one, the person that did this does not get any acknowledgement from me. The people that need the acknowledgement and the people that need our prayers are those people that are waking up without their loved ones. For the young children that aren't going to have their teacher, those are the ones that need the recognition.
You're the second person that I've talked to that's helped people in this city that says, I don't want to give one iota of attention to that suspect, to that man, that madman, that coward, and what he did. You don't want to hear about him. You don't want to talk about him.
No, I know nothing about assault rifles. I know nothing about what would make someone do this. Nor, what I want to do is heal. He doesn't deserve the attention. The people that need the attention, by giving the people that need the attention, the ones to heal, that's what's going to help them heal. When we keep focusing on why, you're not going to know why. We're not that. We're not him. We don't know why, and nor do I want to know why. I just know that a horrific event occurred in my city. I have to live with the fact that I'm a part of one of the worst tragedies. That really is hard to stomach. I've not been able to go on Facebook or really talk to my family, except my mom and my husband, because people say hero. I don't associate with me being a hero. I'm not a hero. The heroes are the ones that are waking up without their loved ones that have to go on. I'm just blessed that I can do what I do best, and that's to take care of people.
One last question for you, because I know you got to go. There's a big presidential visit happening today. There's a lot of other things happening at the hospital. More important than that, even, taking care of the victims. But my last question, you alluded to the fact that you spent 20 years at Henry Ford Hospital, and you take a lot of pride in the things that you learned there that helped prepare you for where you are today. Give us an idea of that once again, if you would.
I know if I name names, I'm going to miss someone, but the training that I was blessed to have, I started off in the neurotrauma ICU, and I believe Gwen Nam is still maybe the CNO of that hospital. A lot of my coworkers are still there. The training that I received, the collaboration and understanding from all the team members, from the residents, the medical students, every department that I ever worked in, formed who I am today, helped form who I am today, and form part of my experience and my training. I can be nothing but blessed. When I left Henry Ford, I never thought I would leave Henry Ford. Because I never wanted to leave Henry Ford. It was an honor to work there. I now can say that I have a family here, and that the institution that I work with is my home. One of the residents that was trained at Henry Ford actually was a fellow here. She's been in contact with me. She even sent food for our department. There's a couple anesthesiologists and residents that actually were at Henry Ford. One of our physicians in Vegas, we walked down the hallway about 5, 6 years ago, and we looked at each other. He was a resident when I was a nurse there. And so a part of my home will always be with me.
On behalf of everyone from your hometown who's watching this, both on television and Facebook, from Detroit, we give you a heartfelt thank you. And even though you don't want to be called a hero, I won't do that because you don't want that. But I will tell you, we are so proud to call you our own. God bless you. Thank you for what you've done. Thank you. Take care of yourself.
Oh, I'm okay.
You're
I'll
good.
be okay.
Of course. God bless you.
It's just